Someone on Reddit suggested they should just put the white T-shirts on each one.
That makes sense too.
There you go. Yeah.
That way you save on paint, and you can probably auction the shirts off for like triple the cost, right?
There you go.
This shirt was at the playoffs.
Center ice, third row T-shirt.
Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am your host, Mark Adam. Thank you for joining us here. I mean, we're always just so happy to be here when the Jets win. And we've got lots to talk about today. Last game of the season last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, amongst other things. And I'm going to introduce you to the whole crew that we've got today because we have a whole panel. But before we do that, why don't we take a second to let you know you should follow us on all the social medias because that would be cool, I guess. I don't know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. You can also support the stream by going to streamlabs.com/thewpg magazine. Anything you donate through that, we will donate 50% of what you give us to a local charity, but we'll make it a big lump sum and do a whole big thing about it. It'll be really good. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Also feel free not to. This is, we're just here chatting, guys. It's all good. We're not asking you to pay for our stuff, but if you wanted to buy us a coffee or something, that'd be great. All that said, you can also have your say, text or call 431-800-4555. That's the WPG Sports Line. We would love to hear from you. You can also reach us by email, thelz@thewpg.ca. And for those that are looking to advertise, you can email ads@thewpg.ca, thewpg.ca, I should say. I don't know why I'm slurring all my words here. Or you can call us 431-489-2401. So, got all that out of the way. I'm going to let you know that I am joined by my general partner in crime and general troublemaker, Mr. Keith McKnight, all the way from his home. How are you today, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We've also got Kerry Bilkowski in the house with his internet possibly working. Who knows? Thank you for joining us again, Mr. Bilkowski. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks again for having me on.
And something very exciting happening today. We have our usual pundit, Mr. Neutral Zoner, over here, but we have video going, but we're still trying to maintain his anonymity. So he's basically some sort of disco / alien / predator sort of guy today. And we're glad that you're joining us as well. So Gentlemen, big stuff happening last night. The big win against the big bad Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's look at the stats and then we'll get into it. Game stats are amazing. Brought to you by Aqua-Tech Pool Spa and Bath. 4-2 Jets over the Leafs. 24 shots, 36 for the Leafs. We're getting back to those stats we saw earlier on in the league, fellas. Where we're getting way outshot, but it doesn't matter. And that's the Jets we know and love. And again, another game where they scored 4 goals or more and won the game. Again, we mentioned on the last episode that not scoring 4 goals and winning happened literally only 6 times this entire season. I listed them all off on the last one. I'm not going to put you all through that again this time. Even though there was only 6 of them, it was a pretty easy list. 0 for 1 on the power play for the Jets, 0 for 2 for the Leafs. 4 penalty minutes for the Jets, obviously, only 2 for the Leafs. There was no coincidental nothing, no fights, no misconducts, any of that nonsense happening last night. And the Jets absolutely out-hit the Toronto Maple Leafs as well, 27 hits to 16. The score sheet, a thing of beauty, I think. Do I not think that? I think that. Carrie Bilkowski liked the stream. Thank you for being on the stream and liking it. That's very, very helpful. I'm not being sarcastic. That's really helpful. Liking and subscribing, by the way, goes a long way. But now let's get into the score sheet here. Kyle Connor, 2 goals. Whoa, Kyle Connor, KFC. Anyway, Mason Appleton pots 1 as well. His 3rd in 5 games. Harkins gets his 1st of the year on the empty netter at the end of the game. Scheifele with 2 assists. Wheeler with 2 assists as well. Also getting assists, but not enough space on the on the score sheet here was Adam Lowry, Toninato, Trevor Lewis, and Dylan DeMello. Lots of scoring coming from a lot of different places. I really, really like to see that. On the Toronto Maple Leafs side, Engvall, Mikheyev, Galchenyuk, Kerfoot, Muzzin all making the score sheet. Engvall and Mikheyev with the goals, everyone else with assists. And Riley, I think Riley was the only other... I think Riley was the only other... Toronto Maple Leaf that didn't actually have space to put up there. So, but then we look at the goaltending there. Connor Hellebuck, 34 for 36 with a 944 save percentage. Absolutely played very, very well. And there was a lot of him not having to play super well. Those shots came from outside a lot. And we saw a lot of good defensive play from the Jets last night that we haven't seen in a while. And I mean, they're still the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're still going to get opportunities. There's a reason they're the best team in the division. But then Jack Campbell going 20 for 23, not so good, 870 on the save percentage. And the playoffs begin for the Jets on the 19th, and for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they will begin on the 20th. The Leafs get the advantage of playing at home. The Jets will be on the road to start against Edmonton. Now, gentlemen, getting back to the matter at hand here, what do we think of all of those statistics of the game last night? Let's start with Mr. Kerry Bilkowski.
I think they point to what we were looking to get out of that game. We wanted to make sure we sort of cemented a solid defensive game, did the right things, basically practiced and warmed up for the playoffs. Yeah, and I thought it went really well. We got some spam in our chat box, by the way. Somebody's trying to make us famous, but it doesn't matter. So we'll go next to Neutral Zoner. What did you think of the stats there? Some really positive stuff.
Yeah, definitely positive. Very happy that the Jets seem to be getting back to what made them successful. Which is kind of funny when you talk about losing the face-off game. Check. Low shots and goal. Check. Out hitting the opponent. Hitting the opponents. Check. So that's good. Maybe the tune-up worked. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a formula going on there. It's crazy that I want to see them get outshot and I want to see them lose in the face-off circle because they have way more success when those two things happen. And I don't know why that is. I would love somebody to break down the how and why of what is happening there. I really would, because that would my brain hurts when I think about it. Like it's crazy. Keith, thoughts?
For those.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Zoner,
very
go ahead.
impressive.
No, go ahead, Keith.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So we're a very organized panel today, people. All right, go ahead, Keith. Let's keep moving.
No, I was very impressive with the team game that they played. As the boys were saying, a lot of people got involved. 5 different people, as you see here. Connor with a multi-point night. Appleton as well there with that 1 goal. Harkins as well, a guy that a name that we don't hear too often. And finally, Keith McKnight's favorite player, Mark Scheifele, finally shows up again with 2 assists, and Captain Blake Wheeler was all smiles as well. So it was nice to see the guys play that. And Kerry was saying that they played good playoff hockey, and if they can play that type of hockey against the Edmonton Oilers, this first-round playoff exit that they're poised for might not happen.
Fair enough. So I really thought those. Obviously, I like to see them get out. I like to see them get beat in the face-off circle. It just, I don't know why it works for us, but it just does. I get worried when we start winning all these face-offs and stuff. Paul Stastny was our hero. He only had a 33% face-off percentage, and Nate Thompson only had a 29% face-off percentage. Adam Lowry, trying to screw things up, ran with a 64% face-off percentage. So yeah, Adam Lowry's got to slow down in the face-off circle, but it's working. That third line, man, oh, there's something else. But we're going to get into that and a lot of other things as soon as we get back from a word from our sponsor. We'll see you in 30 seconds.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aqua-Tech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aqua-Tech job, it's an Aqua-Tech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dougal Road. Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
We are back with the panel here. Thank you to our sponsor, Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We greatly appreciate everything that they do for us here. Very supportive. And now, let us go through, and we're going to start with Keith McKnight. Who was your player of the game? Keith, go.
Mark Scheifele.
Okay, tell us why.
Very happy that he finally, was able to produce something as well. Finally played the hockey that everybody was used to seeing. That's the type of fan favorite hockey. So if he can really start to deliver those types of play in the playoffs as well against the Edmonton Oilers, who are going to look to really shut him down, it might be very important for him to maintain that type of play.
Right on. And now to Zoner. Go ahead.
My pick is more an appreciation for the past season's worth of work. And this player, he's never taken a shift off. He always gets above his weight class. He hustles. He's got fantastic stick skills. Doesn't get much playing time though. So this is my tribute to Matthew Perreault. I love his effort, love his hustle, his desire, and there's been a few highlights in the past where he's stolen pucks off the guy's sticks and scored. Last night he had six hits in just over 13 minutes. So that's hustle and desire.
Right on. I like hearing that. And now let's go to Kerry Bilkowski for his thoughts.
I mean, I've got to take Mr. Extra Crispy himself, Kyle freaking Connor.
Extra Crispy.
Yeah, I mean, he potted a couple. One of them off a beautiful pass from Mark Scheifele on the break. And the other one, he picked a corner like I haven't seen him do in a long time. He just had the tiniest little spot, and he went top shelf. And absolutely, you saw his eyes light up when that happened. He's like, yeah, baby, like I've got it. This is how we're going to do it. So, I mean, if your best players are performing like your best players, you have a shot. That's how you can do it. And Kyle Connor, I mean, when he's on, he's one of the best.
I have to agree with you. He is, when he's on another level when he's on, it's not a thing where he just sort of halfway shows up. He's either 7 games without a goal, or he's killing it. There's no gray area with that guy. So, for me, I have to go with Mason Appleton. I thought the way he played last night was completely deserving of a player of the game nod. I know, he didn't get 2 goals like Mr. Kyle Connor, but I think he is the next Kyle Connor. I really do. 3 goals in his last 5 games. His confidence is growing every single time he gets on the ice. And I mean, last night he led all Jets forwards in ice time. And then I was like, oh, that's a cool stat. And I looked at it again. He led all forwards in the entire game, including the Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews had 19:05. I think Mason Appleton had 19:14 in ice time. So we got a guy that is, you can play him big minutes and he'll produce for you. So I really think that Mason Appleton deserves a nod as player of the game in last night's effort. So We've all gone through our players. We really like some of these guys. I mean, we could have picked a couple other guys. Adam Lowry gets an honorable mention. He played really well, ended up with an assist on the night. I mean, you said Mark Scheifele, but I mean, Blake Wheeler had 2 assists on the night. So that top line, I mean, we have to assume that was all Kyle Connor's goals, right? But But I mean, they're just, that top line is really resurging as the top line. I think we should make that top line the third line, because it doesn't matter who plays on that third line. They just have a great game, don't they? That third line, they just show up every single day. Let's talk third lines. What do we think of those guys? Sorry, I always have to. I forget that there's 4 of you and you're all waiting to see who's going to talk. We'll start with neutral zoner this time.
I think the third line's really driven by Lowry. And that goal that Appleton scored is a perfect example, right? A lot of hustle. He's bothering people with size and speed. He tips the puck, and it's like a bang play, right? Where it gets the Appleton stick and he roofs it. So it's a lot of that's driven by Lowry. I'm so glad he signed that contract. That means big things for the Jets in the next few years.
Yeah, and I mean, Toninato was awesome last night, and Mason Appleton, we already talked about. I'm a big Appleton fan. I really am. So Kerry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Adam Lowry is, where he goes, that line goes. If he has a good game, he's going to make everyone around him better because he's just a force on the ice. He strikes fear in the hearts of the opponent. And I mean, he's no slouch offensively either. Appleton, yeah, I mean, I can see why you would have picked him for your player of the game. He is a really all-around incredible forward. He loves to shoot the puck. He loves to get in it offensively, but he does not shy away from the physicality. And Dom Tomato, Toninato. I mean, he's still a player I'm getting familiar with, but I was really impressed with what he did do yesterday. Every time he has the puck, he looks confident and confident. He doesn't put you into panic mode when he's sort of entering his zone. He makes you feel comfortable like he is a good hockey player who deserves to be playing in the NHL.
Yeah, he is playing at that level where you're just like, man, where has this guy been? So he definitely wants to be part of the equation here, and whether he gets some time in the playoffs or not, he's definitely going to get some looks. And I mean, can't protect everybody, so maybe he's one of those guys that sloughs off to Seattle. You never know. Keith, thoughts on the third line before we move on?
Very impressed with the third line yesterday. I really noticed just how much Adam Lowry is very important to this team. I noticed that yesterday. He's very happy for his teammates as well, especially Mason Appleton's goal. And his energy is very infectious for this team. So I'm really happy to have him back. And it's like Kerry said, wherever he goes, that line goes.
Yeah. And I would have to agree. He's the heart and soul of that line. When he was absent, that wasn't just a blow to that line, but being what we were watching be the best line on the team, night in and night out. They always show up, no matter who else shows up. When Adam Lowry was out of the lineup there briefly, that was very problematic for not just the third line, but the Jets as a whole. And you never want to see a team struggling because one guy is out. But, I mean, stack that on top of Ehlers being out and all that. I mean, it's a little rough. So let's move on. We got a lot to get to, and then we want to talk playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So Kyle Connor, 4 goals in his last 3 games. The guy's awake finally. Went 7 games, as I mentioned, without so much as a point at all. And then all of a sudden he's got 4 goals in 3 games. KFC, love it. Harkin scores his last goal of the season. We could have given him an honorable mention as well during the who's the best player of the game. I mean, the guy just hustles all the time, and he's getting ice time when it's afforded to him. He played 13 and a half minutes last night, and looked good doing it. And obviously it pays off in the end. He gets the empty netter. How funny is it that it's his first goal of the year? it's also the Jets' last goal of the year, and it came on an empty netter, so we didn't even it won't be on the highlight reels at all, you know. So what do we think about that, Mr. Jansen Harkins? Let's start with Keith this time.
Yeah, it's nice to see him that finally he's getting into the mix here. It's a name that, like I said, we don't hear too often very much, right? So it's nice to see him finally establish himself into this team, and hopefully into the playoffs he gets a little bit more opportunities as well for himself.
Yeah, that would be nice to see if we can get him back, back out there a little more. Obviously, I mean, the game kind of meant nothing, so playing those guys a little extra was I think it was a good way to go. I expected a lot more resting. Austin Matthews playing over 19 minutes and leading all forwards on the Leafs in time on ice wasn't something I was expecting. What are we thinking about resting players on both sides of this one? They didn't rest Matthews. They didn't rest. I mean, they rested Marner, or is he hurt? Like, why didn't he play? But they got Matthews out there. I don't understand that decision. They've already got first locked up. Why would you play your star player and play him more than everyone else? Anybody want to weigh in here? Let's start with Carey.
I feel like they in essence did rest Matthews. He really was a non-factor in the game. He wasn't getting into the scrums in front of the net. He kind of just sat on the outside. And I think just picked a couple shots and otherwise was not in any way involved in the game. Clearly just trying not to get hurt and trying to, work his legs out a little bit. I mean, I was a little bit surprised actually to see some of our veteran players out there, Paul Stastny, who went to the locker room for a bit, came back. Unfortunately looked all right playing again, but then did leave in the third period. We're told that was all just precautionary and that he's fine. But I was surprised to see a guy like Stastny and a guy like Wheeler sort of out on the ice, the guys who are maybe a little more fragile and take a little bit longer to heal. I'm calling these guys fragile.
I was going to say, like, you got the workhorse, the Iron Man in Blake Wheeler, and you're throwing up the fragile word. It's just, I'm sorry. He would take offense, I feel.
I think he should. But, he was also a guy who, had broken ribs for a good portion of the season. And last thing you'd want to see is, Hall takes him into the boards and gives him a little extra crunch. And all of a sudden we don't have our captain for the playoffs. So, but having said that, I'm glad he was on the ice and played great. I would have thought we would have rested our players more, and I didn't think it would be as physical and as intense a game as it was, but here we are.
Yeah, I get that. And Zoner, what were your thoughts on that? Paul Stastny leaving and not resting players and all that. What was your take?
I think that is something of concern because, as you mentioned earlier, Stastny's in the fragile category. I also noticed that Dubois did not play very much in the third period either. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't catch it. There was some Twitter buzz about saying he got hit in the face, and so the coach decided just to let him have the rest of the night off.
Well, I mean, he only played 10 minutes.
Yeah, so he was barely there. Actually, I was wondering if it was in response to his effort on the Leafs' first goal, but last game of the season is really not the time to go sending messages about things. So I don't know if it's that. And he actually did play right after that goal. So yeah, I'd much rather see the Jets rest the guys and let the taxi squad players play a little bit more. But at the same time, they're just coming out of a slump. As Carey started his comments with the show, talking about how this was a opportunity to practice with a real live opponent. Maybe that's what the coaching staff was thinking. Like, let's start getting some kinks out. Let's do it against a real live opponent, and let's make the first power play work. Let's make the first line work. Let's make the defensive pairings more familiar with each other before we face Mick Draisaitl. So,
well,
that might have been their thinking. It's very risky, though.
And yeah. I mean, I think it paid off. They won the game. No one was hurt. It turned out to work really well. And the other thing to think about too is that when you are, when you're slumping at one of the worst times in the whole year, and all of a sudden your recovery begins at what is, I think, a little bit late. It's nice to see guys like Kyle Connor wake up, like Mason Appleton all of a sudden start producing when he was playing so well and just getting zero results. And we starting to see Scheifele back the way he sort of looked before. Some really nice passing last night, some nice plays, and looking a little stronger. And Blake Wheeler is looking more like himself, getting farther and farther away from those rib injuries that we didn't know were rib injuries before, when we were all talking about how poor he'd been playing 5-on-5. And so they're while they slumped at a really bad time, they at least started their recovery on the way up to the playoffs. So hopefully, with Ehlers back potentially by Wednesday, and some other factors going on, everybody's sort of getting healthy. We got Kyle Connor sort of chugging along now. Mason Appleton is producing. He's feeling a lot more confident. Toninato is available when we need him. We know Vesalainen has played very well. We have all of these things sort of moving in the direction that we want them to, and it's kind of nice to see that happen right before the playoffs, where we're kind of getting our mojo back, and it is nice to see. So all right. Quickly, I'm just going to remind everybody, again, you can follow us on all the social medias. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Like and subscribe. Smash the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, get the notifications. You'll see when we go live. The channel we're on, the WPG Magazine, is not just sports. It is all the WPG sports stuff will be hosted there. Absolutely. The LZ Sports Show included, but there's other stuff too. If you're a person, if you've got a person that's really into dance, we have free dance classes every so often that are live and, for charity and stuff. And we have the WPG Wind Down is a show that we're looking to bring back at some point. We've got other plans for other programming and video creation. So like and subscribe. It really, really helps us out. It goes a long way to giving us the tools that we need to keep going. And don't forget, when you go to that link at the bottom there that you can see on the screen for those watching the actual video, for those on the audio podcast, I will tell you, streamlabs.com/the WPG Magazine. If you donate through that link, it helps support us, and we will take half of what is donated and we'll lump it all together and we'll do a big donation to a local charity. So please don't feel shy about supporting the stream that way, because we will put some of that money back into the community that we're here for. We're here for the community, and we're part of this community. So help us, help you, everybody. What was the line from Jerry Maguire? Anyway. And then also, if you want to have your say, text our line 431-800-4555, or you can reach us by email, thelz@thewpg.ca. All of that out of the way now. Let's keep going. Let's talk before we get into the playoffs, because we're going to get into some playoff talk. Cole Perfetti officially named to the Canadian national team, the WIHF team we're sending to the World Championships in Riga, Latvia. So what do we think of that? Second youngest player on the team, folks. Let's start with Mr. McKnight. We haven't heard from you in a while. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what your thoughts on the AHL Rookie of the Month being named to Team Canada?
Very happy for him to be named to that team. Very happy that he had the Rookie of the Month as well with the AHL. So he's been having some successes down there, and it's nice to see that his offseason won't be as long as everyone else's, right? He'll have the opportunity to keep on playing.
I agree wholeheartedly. Zoner, thoughts?
Amazing opportunity. Super happy, and I think it'll be really good for his development too. It's something else when you put on that jersey, right? The Canadian flag on it, and it's good for him.
Yeah, it's a big deal when you wear the and I mean, not that anybody can see it, I don't think, but if you put your hat close enough to the camera, can we see the logo? Will it show up? Kind of. It's a Hockey Canada logo for those that can't see it. For those on the audio podcast, you definitely can't see it. So it is a Hockey Canada hat he is wearing on his beaner, but maintaining his anonymity means that we don't get to see that, because we've got to blur a lot of that. So just a heads up there. All right. So, sorry, Carrie, I didn't get your thoughts on Perfetti, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'll basically just sort of echo what Zoner said. I think it's awesome. It's going to be great for his development and hopefully help hone him into a full, rounded hockey player. And I mean, I'm excited for Team Canada. They have this young, dynamic goal scorer out there who's hopefully going to do good things for us.
Yeah, it's looking exciting, and I'm really hopeful that that he does well over there and does the Winnipeg / Manitoba fan base proud. I'm sure he will. Again, second youngest player on the club because he's born in 2002. So, they have a couple of veterans on the team, but they do have a lot of young talent over there. First game that they're going to play is against the hosts, Latvia, but I'm very excited to see how they perform in this tournament. I love that tournament. It's a weird timing because there's still playoffs going on, so playoff teams can't send players to participate. Otherwise, you'd see guys like Mark Scheifele getting some looks at that, and Connor McDavid. Obviously, that would be a huge get for Team Canada. But at the moment, he's going to be busy, and they're going to be busy playing each other. So, speaking of the playoffs, let's get into it. Jets, Edmonton. What do we think? How do we stack up? How do we stop McDavid? How do we stop Draisaitl? How do we stop the two of those guys together, Mick Draisaitl? Let's start with Zoner. You go ahead. Give us your thoughts. What do the Jets really need to do to get the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs?
That's a very hard question. Connor McDavid's been having an otherworldly season, and I just looked it up with his stats. He's got 104 points, which means he is responsible either scoring or assisting on 57% of the entire team's offense. Like every goal, 57% of them, he had a hand in it. It's incredible. He and Draisaitl are definitely on the same wavelength. They've been in sync for a couple of years now. But now you add in the fact that their defensemen are rapidly improving. Darnell Nurse, he is now, people are talking about him being a candidate for the Norris Trophy. He's been that good. Tyson Barrie, he looked kind of washed up on the Leafs, and he was like a Mike Babcock. Anyways, he was in his doghouse for a lot of the season, but he's resurrected his career this year. Even someone like Ethan Bear, he surprised me. He was not that good last year, but this year I've been seeing him being a very steady defenseman. So this is going to be a tough series for the Jets. They definitely need Ehlers back. I don't know what his timetable is like for coming back, but if you just stick with the roster we saw last night, I mean, there's signs of hope. The Jets are, in some ways, Wheeler and Stastny not included, but in some ways they're still a young team, and having that good vibe going into the playoffs helps. Having Appleton and Connor on scoring streaks helps. Like, it makes everyone stand 2 inches taller and makes them skate that much faster. I think that'll help, but it will require an entire team effort to slow those two superstars down, and that means especially in the first two games where the Jets don't have the last change, where they're going to need everyone on the same page, not getting out of position, and just trying to slow them down. Like, they're going to score, but just don't let them go crazy and get 4 points a night on us.
Absolutely. Carrie, same question. What do the Jets need to do to contain McJesus and that insane Draisaitl guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to make sure you've got the right matchups out there to do your best to neutralize them and to limit their chances. But honestly, I think the Jets' best chance at winning is to make sure the time where you don't have the two best players on the ice, when Draisaitl and McDavid aren't on the ice, that the Jets are taking advantage of that, and they're using those opportunities to strike when the iron's hot and hopefully score some points and really assert themselves as the dominant team there. I mean, you're never going to control Connor McDavid. He is the best player in the NHL by a significant margin. he makes all the other guys look like pee-wee players. I mean, how many times did we see Tucker Poolman 3 steps behind him this season, chasing him? And it was, very disheartening if you're a Jets fan and you're looking at the upcoming sort of playoff matchup here. But I think, again, just get the right guys out against them. Get your Mason Appletons and your Matthew Perreaults out there grinding and making their lives miserable. And then when they're not there, just beat up the rest of the team the best you can.
It's a pretty good strategy, and an addition by subtraction strategy where you attack the gaps, right? So
exactly.
when they're not out there, when McDrysaitel is on the bench, that's when you need to strike. So I like that. McKnight, any thoughts on that as well?
Oh, sorry, I lagged out there. No, that's going to be a very, very tough thing to contain them for sure. No, I agree.
So let's talk about what the Jets have done in the past against McDavid, which is very little. I really liked the way that Pionk was able to contain McDavid. I really think that when we had that whole Pullman-Forbert pairing, that was tragic. They got absolutely picked apart by McDavid and Draisaitl, and every opportunity that McDavid and Draisaitl had basically came at the expense of Pullman and Forbort. So I have to mispronounce it at least once a day because that Sportsnet guy's in my head. Those Sportsnet announcers. And that's the other thing. We have the Sportsnet announcers for our play callers. We're not going to get Mr. Bayak. We're not going to get Kevin Sawyer. So no more Sawyerisms for the playoffs. What are your thoughts? I mean, this isn't a non-hockey issue, but as a fan watching the game, what are your thoughts, Mr. Bilkowski, on the Sportsnet folk doing our games?
Firstly, I just want to say I posted a thread on Reddit yesterday, the Bayak and Sawyer appreciation thread, and it's been blowing up, so to speak, in the Jets subreddit. And I love those guys. I really think Dennis Bayak's one of the best play-by-play guys out there. I love the sound of his voice. I love the way he calls the game. So yeah, we do have, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, Harnarahian Singh. I butchered it.
Singh, Mr. Singh.
Mr. Singh. I haven't really loved his commentary
He's
throughout
such
the years.
an Alberta homeboy.
Oh man, and the way he sings, when McDavid gets a breakaway, he basically screams and sings his name. And when he's been calling the Jets, it feels like he's half asleep. He's like, yeah, Scheifele breaks through and he scores a goal. And obviously I'm a Jets fan through and through. So I want a little bit more excitement. I want the announcers to be on the edge of their seat as much as I am. I'm
when you're on a national broadcast, which is what the playoffs are going to be, it's going to be unfortunate that we got some sort of a lot of, we'll say, Alberta skew to their play calling, right? So when there's a penalty, they'll be erring on the side of Edmonton, and when there's a goal scored and it's under review, they're going to be erring on the side of, right? So and obviously they don't affect the actual play, but they affect the way that the fans feel when watching it, and it's going to feel not only are the Jets fans going to be watching and hoping that their team does well on the ice, but they're going to be feeling a bit of an attack from the announcers as well. And I think that's something that's important to the game. And hopefully they are instructed to curb their homeboy, homer type attitude for at least the playoffs. Whether they do that or not, and whether they actually get asked to do that or not, remains to be seen. But does anyone else want to weigh in there, McKnight or Zoner, on the whole, how you're going to feel?
Right? They're paid to be biased, so.
Are they? They're paid to be biased? Is that a thing?
Yes, they are. If you work for a network, of course.
And so, okay, fair enough.
There are some examples. So Bob Cole was the voice of Hockey Night in Canada for like a million years, and
Harry
he
Neal
was a blatantly obvious Toronto Maple Leafs homer, right?
Yeah, we used to call him Harry Maple Leaf, and
yeah, Harry Neal, yes, and Bob Cole. Don Cherry never hid the fact that he was all about the Leafs and the Bruins. For play-by-play, it should be different, but I mean, Jim Hewson, who was the main guy until COVID sidelined that, but I mean, Jim Hewson is definitely a Vancouver homer, right?
Absolutely.
Which was weird to hear him call Leafs games, because you could tell it took him a couple years to get excited.
Well, yeah, fair.
Before calling them, right? Yeah.
But I'm so used to Jim Hewson because I played a lot of the NHL games, right? And he's the voice of EA Sports as far as the hockey side is concerned. So, when you hear his voice, I'm just thinking like all of that crazy banter from the the NHL the EA Sports games. So I get it. But I was coming at it where I knew his voice from, because I grew up in Nova Scotia, remember? So he's in Vancouver, he's as far away from me as possible, and those games I wasn't allowed to be awake for. So I didn't see a lot of Jim Hewson as an actual hockey announcer. I thought he was just the guy from EA Sports. So the first time I heard him call a game live on the air, I was like, wow, this is the guy.
EA Sports. Yeah. Taking over the NHL.
I know. It's Vancouver Canucks. It's in the game. You're like, wait a minute, what? I'm really confused right now. Sorry, this is not an ad for EA Sports at all in any way. But
if it is, contact the WPG show.
I'll put that number on the screen again, 431-489-2401, or email ads@thewpg.ca. Back to our regularly scheduled program. So let's talk Toronto-Montreal. This is very exciting for a lot of people. The Toronto-Montreal rivalry has been a thing for ever, and they're both original 6 teams. They've got huge fan bases on both sides that are super passionate. And, you got the Montreal Canadiens fans who will turn on their team at the drop of a hat as soon as something goes wrong. And then you got the Toronto Maple Leafs fans who, on the opposite end of the fault scale, you constantly think that this is the year. They could be last okay, next year's our year. This year it's a rebuilding year. It's like, oh, sure it is. But, so you got fans, they're just such intense fans on both sides. What do we think about that matchup with the lineups that they have? Let's start with Kerry Bilkowski. Hit us up. What do you think?
I think it's not going to be the blowout that some people are calling. Montreal has proven that while they may be a little bit streakier of a team than the Maple Leafs, that they can go out and they can make lives difficult. And they sort of have the composition of a playoff team. They can grind pretty hard and be very physical. And as we know, the Leafs are cursed. So likely... I'm going to say that the curse continues, and that Montreal's going to take that series they're going to take it to 7, but they're going to win.
You say Montreal? I like it. I grew up a Habs fan. People forget sometimes when you talk about being I'm a Jets fan for sure. But when you talk about liking other teams other than the Jets, people in Winnipeg get very on edge. There's like this tension in the air. You can feel it. But you got to remember, 1, I'm not from here. I moved here 7 years ago. And 2, there were no Jets for 15 years during my formative hockey years, So, that's you had to cheer for someone if you liked hockey, and it wasn't the Jets because they weren't a thing. And I wasn't about to start cheering for the Phoenix Coyotes. I don't care. So, I was a Habs fan, and it was always this Toronto-Montreal thing. And for you to say that you think the Montreal Canadiens are going to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in however, I don't even care how many games. You said 7. I like that. That's probably, if the Montreal Canadiens do win, I think it'll take 7, because the Toronto Maple Leafs this year are no joke. I don't ever like to agree with the Toronto Maple Leafs fans, but it could be their year. It's an unfortunate reality for me that Toronto is playing so well. And, as a, I love it because it's good for the game when Toronto plays well, but I don't ever want to see them win a cup. Speaking of people who are very biased, I really just don't want Toronto to win. ABT, anyone but Toronto, really, at that point. So Keith McKnight, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going with Montreal in 5 games for this one for sure.
5.
Yeah. Like Barry said, this team is the Toronto Maple Leafs are a cursed team, and I don't see the Toronto Maple Leafs coming out on the other side of this one.
Oof. Toronto fans all over the globe who probably don't watch this show are just they're like uncomfortable, and they don't know why right now. It's because we're trash talking their club, and I agree. I think Montreal this year, when they're on, they are dangerous. They're fast. They're sneaky. They will make you pay for every single mistake you make, and I think this whole thing about Toronto being cursed has some merit. It does. It has a little bit of merit. And I think there's something to it. So I would love to see a Toronto Maple Leafs first round exit. If I had to put money on it, I would say Leafs in 6. If I'm putting money on it, if I'm betting, it's Leafs in 6. If I'm hoping, it's Montreal in pick a number. I don't care. I also think that it's important to cheer for the Montreal Canadiens because I think the Jets stack up much better against the Montreal Canadiens than they do against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's just a personal opinion. And might I add, every time that Edmonton has ever won a cup, they have beaten Winnipeg on the road to it.
Oh, geez, here we go. That's a good stat, actually.
So if they're going to win the cup, it's got to go through us. And obviously that's the case. But wouldn't it be great to spoil McDreisaitl's party? Like, oh, you scored 104 points in 55 games. Oh, you still have another game left to score more points. Oh, well, how about a first-round playoff exit? That'd be nice, right? Bye. Enjoy your golfing trip. That would be phenomenal. But so we're saying, are we all saying we think the Jets are going to win? I think that's the biased opinion in this room right now.
Biased, yes.
Yeah, right on. We got Neutral Zoner over there dealing with some stuff, so we'll just go to the triple box for a sec while he handles his stuff. We don't want to expose more about his life than we need to. He's trying to stay anonymous over there. So
this is what happens when your recording studio is the kitchen.
Oh, listen. I get it. I'm in the basement and I'm trying to keep the dog from whining and being all in the shot and I got the kids locked upstairs in the tower, and I've banished the girlfriend to sleep in the spare room right now, and because I'm in the basement and that's also where my bedroom is. So I get this fun time of trying to shoot at home is it's tricky, and I don't know. We're all feeling that hurt right now. How crazy is it that this thing started in March of 2020 and we're now in May of 2021 and it doesn't look like it's slowing down? The future of sports is in question at the moment, really, the way that we're going. So, okay, we're getting off topic. Let's keep going on the playoff track. What I want to ask each of you is, what playoff series, not just Canadian, which playoff series do we think is going to be the best to watch, the biggest battle, the hardest fought, and the closest, the hardest to call? Which playoff series do we think? Let's start with Kerry Bilkowski. What do you think is going to be the best series of all of these matchups to watch?
I mean, I think it's probably going to be the Capitals Bruins series, which starts tonight. I think we're going to see some really exciting, really hard grinding hockey, and those are two teams, either of which you could expect to see deep into the playoffs. I think that whoever comes out in that series, we're going to see it go to 6 or 7 games, and whatever team does win, they're going to be a little worse for wear afterwards as well.
So hard fought and hard to call. Keith, who do you think? Who's the hardest?
I'm going to have to agree with that one too. Those two teams are really poised for something interesting because Zdeno Chara playing his old former team, I'm very interested to see how that's going to go out. So it's like he has a lot of inside information, that he's going to be able to share with the coaching staff and the scouting department about how the team works and their systems. So I'm kind of worried about that, that inside information, they would call it on Wall Street. And then, I don't know, Ovi seems very hungry, especially after I saw the headline, Ovi wants Cup and then Capitals contract extension. So he seems pretty hungry for another one. So that one's going to be definitely a series I'm going to be paying very closely attention to. Zoner, what about you? Which series do you think you're going to go with?
I got to pick something different. I'm curious about the Panthers and the Lightning, mostly because the second last game they played against each other turned into a total goon fest.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what started that, why it happened, but this will be a series that it's played with a lot of passion, similar to the 80s with the Battle of Quebec and the Battle of Alberta, where sticks were flying, elbows were high, and the audio is always rated R, right? Like it was.
Yeah, you don't want to be reading lips in that game.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I while I do think the Boston-Washington series is going to be crazy, I think there's going to be a lot going on there, and I definitely think the New York Rangers are going to be cheering for Boston, which never happens. But with their interesting relationship with the Washington Capitals and particularly Tom Wilson this year, you have to think that the New York Rangers are throwing their lot in with the Bruins in round one, since they're going to be on the sidelines watching as it is. But I think as far as really good playoff series, I keep your eye on this Vegas Minnesota series. I think while Vegas has looked really, really good and they've got this whole crazy 67 goal differential, like plus 67 goal differential, I really think that the way, especially in the playoffs, the way that Minnesota plays, they are very, very stingy defensively, and they don't give up a lot of opportunities. They play hard. They just turn into a different team every time they hit the playoffs, and I think that's going to make it very difficult for the Vegas Golden Knights in the style of hockey that they play. I think that series is a series where, as Abilko said, those two teams will come out. It'll be 6 or 7 games, and whoever wins is going to be rough. They're going to look rough afterwards. So I think that is a series to watch. Now, on the other side, what do you think is going to be the biggest blowout? Who is going to destroy someone and walk away in probably 4 games, maybe 5, if somebody gets lucky in a game? What's a series that's absolutely lopsided to you? Let's start with Zoner this time.
I don't see one this year.
Really?
Like maybe the Avs and the Blues, but the Blues always surprise you, right? All they need is a hot goalie, and they've got enough big bodies to clog up the neutral zone. So I don't see a blowout. Like the Pens and Islanders, I think they're both playing similar styles. They're both fast, and they got stars. Even the one I picked, Panthers Lightning, I don't see that being a blowout. I think that's going to be a war of attrition. Whoever has the most bodies left wins. And Hurricanes, maybe the Preds, but they've been on such a tear in the last month just to make it to the playoffs. It's really like the stand. If you remove the first
peaking well,
if you remove the first month or 2 of the season, like they probably stack up extremely well with the Hurricanes. So I don't see anyone getting blown out.
I mean, if you take away the first month or 2 of the season, the Ottawa Senators are in the playoffs. So, I mean, you can't just discount that bad play. They did figure it out in the end, the Preds and the Senators. But yeah, I think it's important to note that that there is that improvement matters, and Zoner's moving around over there. So we'll go to the triple box so we don't make people dizzy till he settles down a little. But for me, or actually, wait, did we get Bilkowski's say on the...
No, we didn't. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay. The Homer answer is the Winnipeg Jets are going to blow out the Edmonton Oilers. But I don't necessarily know that to be the case. But I think actually the Carolina Hurricanes are going to run through Nashville pretty heavily. They seem to be a team that's destined for to go deeper into the playoffs this year. So that would be my pick for if there's going to be a short series or a blowout. That would be the one.
Okay, McKnight?
Which series was going to be lopsided? Oh, that one. I'm going to have to go with the Colorado series. I'm kind of thinking that they might have more of a tough time with the St. Louis Blues. I have to agree with Zoner than they actually thought they might, even though they're one of the more dominant teams.
Yeah, I think that is the series I would have to pick as well. I mean, it's 64 plus 64 in the goal differential to St. Louis's -1. 82 points on the year to St. Louis's 63. So 39 wins to 27 wins. I mean, it doesn't matter where you stack up the stats. The Colorado Avalanche are the best team in the league. They won the President's Trophy. There's a reason they did that. They played very well through many months of this year, particularly at the end. They had some big winning streaks towards the end of this season. They're currently ending the season on a 5-game winning streak. I just don't see St. Louis standing up to the firepower, the speed, the intensity that the Colorado Avalanche bring to the game. I just don't see it happening. I think that is a very lopsided series. I think St. Louis is kind of lucky to have made the playoffs because there's some really poor performing teams in their division that sort of helped them out and didn't put a lot of pressure on them as far as making the playoffs go. So I really think that they are the softest team in these playoffs this year. So, and having said that, St. Louis being the softest team, I think, and I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, the Colorado Avalanche are the team that I'm picking to win the cup, and they are going to absolutely steamroll the St. Louis Blues. That's my thoughts on that. So, given all of that, gentlemen, we are running out of time over here. So, final thoughts, anyone? Start with Mr. McKnight.
No, just really excited that, the regulars. I just love how we were talking about, there's 20 games left in the regular season. Things are going pretty fast. And then we got to the last, you're like, oh my God, is this thing not over yet? But then finally, here we are, playoff start, and let's get it going here, guys.
Can we be real clear, though? The season isn't over. This is the weirdest.
That's right. That's right. Oh no.
There's still
put my foot in my mouth there.
Because tonight the Edmonton Oilers play their last game of the season against the Vancouver Canucks, who are way out of the playoffs, and they then have to play 3 more games against the Calgary Flames, who are also very out of the playoffs. So there's 4 games that don't matter other than the tune-up game that the Edmonton Oilers get to play tonight to sort of get their game the way they want it for the playoffs. Zoner, final thoughts?
Well, just super happy the playoffs are starting soon. Can't wait till Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Love playoff hockey.
Beauty. Bilko.
Yeah, stoked about playoff hockey. I'll be wearing white in celebrating the Jets whiteout. Maybe I'll try and squeeze into my childhood vintage jersey
that's
here.
Not working. You disappeared.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay, well, just trust me. I have a
like
sweet jersey that's a size extra small vintage Jets logo.
Nice.
But in any event, yeah, excited for the playoffs. I think we had a very good season, marred with a little bit of a rough patch, and yeah, I can't wait for the next several weeks of exciting hockey.
Excellent. I think a rough patch is the nicest way that you could describe what happened to the Jets during that span. That is pretty nice, actually. But I will also, my final thought is that I'm glad that we beat the Leafs for our last game of the year, and that loss dropped them under 700 in the points percentage. I really enjoyed that. I don't know why I enjoy that so much. I just do. So follow us on all the social medias. Again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Do like and subscribe on YouTube. It goes a long way. Like the videos when you see them pop up on your Facebook feed and wherever, as well as you can give us a call or a text at 431-800-4555. Reach us by email, thelz@thewpg.ca. or for advertising opportunities, call 431-489-2401 or email ads@thewpg.ca. For everybody here on the panel, myself, Keith McKnight, Carrie Bilkowski, and Neutral Zoner joining us all the way from the weird place that he's now sitting. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next time in the LZ.